Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa. You can typically find me at the Squishable Store in downtown Chicago at Water Tower Place. But today I'm here to show you how to make a superhero costume for your favorite Squishable. It was kind of a natural choice for me to make a superhero costume. I do a ton of cosplay myself, and I think all of us could really use to like hug a hero right now. You don't need that much in order to make this costume. You need some felt for the mask, you need some 1/4 inch elastic to attach the mask and the cape to the body. And for the cape itself, you just need a rectangle of fabric. You can go to squishable.com /s/ACTY and you can download the written instructions. You'll also find a pattern both for the mask and for the cape, and that's gonna help you make this project. So let's get started. The first thing that you want to do is print out the pattern that's included with your written instructions. The cape pieces are on 2 different sheets of paper, so cut those apart and then assemble them. I've got straight lines and dotted lines, and you can use those for the alignment of the cape piece. The first thing you're going to want to do is cut out a piece of cape fabric. I'm just using a regular old Kona cotton solid here. You're going to want it to be 9.5 inches tall and 19 inches wide. So first, you're just going to fold it directly in half. And then you're going to take your cape pattern and you are just going to line it up. So I have it written on the pattern. It says place on fold. So of course that side is going to go right on the fold. So you can either pin this in place. I definitely love to use my pins, or you can trace it with a fabric pencil on the top and the bottom and then cut out the remaining fabric. Once you've cut out your cape pattern from your fabric, you're going to want to open it up. And now we're going to be doing a narrow hem along the top edge of the cape. So a narrow hem involves folding over the fabric, and I've done this so many times, I just sort of instinctively do it. You want to fold it over about 1/4 inch, and then fold it over again another 1/4 inch. And that just cleans up the edge without having to use a serger or do anything too fancy with it. Now, you're going to want to do this along the entire edge of the top of the cape. And then you can either press it in place with an iron or just do what I do. I compulsively pin and I under iron, and that is how I sew. So I'm just going to go along the edge of the cape, folding and pinning in place. And you'll notice too, because you're working with a curve, it might not come out super clean. You're gonna have to like mess with it a little bit just to get a nice looking edge. It will definitely kind of ease itself out as you sew it, as you work on it. But if you notice any weird kind of like bulking up, that's just part of the process. Okay, so once you have everything pinned in place, you can either use a needle and thread and hand stitch it, or I'm just going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to do a straight stitch just to anchor this in place. I'm going to be doing a stitch line pretty close to the edge of the fold. I just find that looks cleaner, but again, it doesn't have to be super perfect for it to come out looking great. Once you finish that rolled edge at the top of the cape, we're going to be doing the same thing along the bottom edge of the cape. So again, you're going to get really used to this by the time you're done. You're going to fold in, again, about 1/4 inch, and then fold another 1/4 inch in, and then either press or pin it in place. Now with this external edge too, you might notice some of this fabric starting to buckle. What I like to do is maybe give it a little bit of space and do a fold, and then kind of work my way back, smoothing out the curve however I can. And you're just going to continue doing this all the way around the edge of the cape. Okay, now that this whole thing is pinned in place, it's time to either run it through the sewing machine or again, use your needle and thread to attach this in place. Once this bottom edge is sewn in place, it's time to start working on the sides of the cape. So rather than do a 1/4 inch narrow hem, I'm actually doing a 1/2 inch one. So I'm going to fold in the edge about a 1/2 inch and then fold it over again. And then I am going to pin this in place, but this is just kind of a provisional thing because what I am going to do before completely sewing this in place is that I'm also going to attach the elastic for the armholes to attach the cape to your Squishable. So if you have some 1/4 inch elastic, I am just going to measure a piece that is, let's see here, about 3 inches. And then I'm just going to do 2. And I just tend to measure the elastic against itself so that they're both even. But we are going to set the rest of this elastic aside. That's for the mask. And then set one of these aside. So like I said, this is your like armhole for your Squishable. So you are going to attach it, and I like to attach it pretty close to the top edge of the cape, and then I'm actually going to pin the elastic in place on top of it, and then about 1/2 inch apart is where I'm going to attach this other edge of the elastic. Now when I sew this in place, I'm actually going to do 2 lines of straight stitches, one that's about 1/8 of an inch away from the very edge of the cape, and another that's about 1/2 inch away. And that's just going to give it, the elastic, some extra security so it holds in place. Once you've stitched this elastic in place, it's time to repeat that step on the opposite side. So again, we're going to do a 1/2 inch fold, and then another 1/2 inch fold, and then I'm just going to pin this in place while I grab the elastic. I'm going to take this other 3 inch bit of elastic and then position it kind of close to the top of the cape. And pin it in place, and then giving about a 1/2 inch room, I'm going to pin that. There we go. Going to pin that in place. And now I'm going to stitch this again. Once you have both loops in place, your cape is done. So you can set this aside, and now it's time to start working on the mask. You need a square of felt that is 7 by 5 inches, and then I want you to cut out the mask pattern, and that'll be in the written instructions on the Squishable website. You want 2 of the mask. So since the felt is kind of thick, I typically don't double it up. You can either pin it on and cut it out, or trace the mask pattern twice and then cut those out. Once you've cut out 2 pieces of your mask, just stack them in place. And now we're going to be stitching these together. You're going to do some top stitching along the outer edge and then along the edge of the eyes. But before we do that, it's time to attach the remaining elastic to your mask. So I take one end of the elastic, and I'm just going to sandwich it in between the two sections of the mask, and I keep it just at the corner as to act as a guide. And then on the opposite side of the mask, I'm going to be super careful not to twist the elastic. I'm going to insert the elastic again in between the two sections of the mask, and I'm going to pin it in place. Okay, and now I am going to do some stitching. And again, once you've done that top stitching along the outer edge of the mask, you're just going to work again, maybe about 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch around the edge of the eyes, just to secure it in place. And that's it. Once you finish the stitching, you are ready to suit up your favorite Undercover Squishable and get ready to fight injustice. This pattern fits every Undercover Squishable. I haven't tested it on the other minis. If you end up making some adjustments on the mask or the cape in order to fit your favorite Squishable, I'd love to see it. Feel free to contact me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.